Morning people, welcome to Lansky's Android Studio channel. Today, as promised, I'm gonna tackle a tutorial in Android Studio regarding passing data from one activity to another activity. So, I have already created two activities here. The first one, or our launcher activity, is named mainActivity.java with an XML file for the UI activity underscore main.xml. So the UI for the first activity has a button with the label pass data, and our next activity has XML activity underscore next.xml. Here we have two text views. The first text view has a label or text 1, and the next activity text view 2 has a label 2. So if we go to our XML, our text code here for the XML of the next activity is our first text view is named text view 1, and the text is 1, and text view 2, and the text is 2. So here what we are gonna do is to be able to pass string data after clicking the button here. So we go now to our XML code here and create the on click for the button. So Android on click, and provide a name for our procedure or method that would be called upon clicking this button. So let us just name here pass data, and for now we don't have a procedure here yet named pass data, but let's go ahead and create this one. Let's just copy that one, and proceed with our mainActivity.java, and let's create the procedure public void pass, let's just paste pass data, and create the bare bone procedure pass data. And the common mistake here is leaving this with no parameters to be passed, or no variable names here. So let's put here view. So you could also just put the name of the variable view b, or let's just use view. In my first study of this code, the one thing that provided me a very difficult to debug error is omitting this one. Omitting these parameters here, the view and the view function and the variable name for that view, which we have named here view. Omitting this one would create a very hard to debug error here. You have already checked your code, but it seems that you are getting the APK stops or closes, and you try to debug your code, but nothing seems to be working for you. And the only thing that you have omitted here are these parameters here. So be sure not to omit this one. Okay, let's create two string variables here that we would be passing to our next activity.java. So let's go ahead. String data1 equals this is data1. So as simple as that. And we have string data2 equals this is data2. So we now have two string variables here, which the variable names are grayed out because we have never accessed them yet or have used in our code. So let's go ahead and use these two variables. So in order to pass this data, which is stored in this variable, we can use the use put extra in order to pass the method put extra in order to pass those variables. But first, let's create the intent, and let's just name our intent pass data intent equals new intent. This, meaning this .java file, goes to next activity class. This next activity class calls our next activity .java. Okay, we now have our intent. So let's call our intent variable and then put extra. You can just get any of this, or you can type it. Whatever you do, it doesn't really matter. So you now create a variable that would be accessed by your second activity or your next activity. So let's create you can name this the same like this and pass the data on the data1 variable. So put extra, and you can use the same name here, data2. So for example, just pass data1. So I will be changing this to data2, but I just use data1 here first, just to illustrate that by using this name as the variable that would store the content of this variable, you still have not yet used data2, because this data2 here is different from the variable data2 here. This data2 here is a variable name that would be used to pass the contents of this variable. So even if you use the same name here, this variable here would become the variable that would be accessed by your second or next activity. So as you can see, since I have not yet put data2 here, this one is never used yet. But if I change this to data2, this string variable here, data2, is now not grayed out because you have already used or accessed this variable. So okay, so for our purposes, let's change this one into first data, and then this one into second data, for you to be aware that these two are different variables. This is the variable whose contents or data is being passed to this new variable here, and this one too, data2 contents or data is being passed into this second data variable here, which would be accessed by your next activity.java later. So let us now start the activity or the intent. Here our intent, which is we name pass data underscore intent, is to initiate the next activity.java through the next activity.class code here. So let us now start our intent. So start activity and pass the name of the intent. Let us now pass the name of the intent here. So with this part of the code, you are now starting your next activity.java or your second activity. So by doing that, you have now successfully passed this data here through the put extra method, which you assigned to your intent, which is here. So by clicking the button here, let's execute our code now. So now we have to click the button in order to pass the data after your emulator has successfully loaded. So click the button now. So at this point, you have already successfully pass the data from the main activity into the next activity, but the next activity.java have not yet received that data. So that's what we are going to do now with our code. So let's head back to our Android Studio editor and go to next activity.java. So here, in order to uh, receive the data from our first activity, take the code that would receive the data that had been passed from our main activity.java. So let's create a bundle variable. So bundle, bundle, or you can name your variable any other name. For our purposes now, let's use bundle, and then call the method getIntent. And then now that we have get, here where we are getting the intent here, which is next activity.java, and get the data that had been passed using put extra method from the first activity through the method get extras. So semicolon here. So that's basically the very simple code. Bundle, then your bundle variable name here, this one, and then call the getIntent method and its underlying sub method get extras. So what happened here is that the bundle variable have already obtained the data passed from the first activity, and then the next line of code, we have to extract the data inside that bundle. So we have two data variable inside that bundle now, which is first data and second data. So what we have to do here is to assign those variable again into another variable inside our next activity.java in order to put that in our text view, in order for us to determine whether the data have been successfully passed. Actually, right here, the data have already been successfully passed into this into this activity. And in your code, you may not be needing to display them here in our UI. Here we have TextView 1, which has a text 1, and TextView 2, which has a text 2. You may, in your own app, you may not be needing to display that data, because you may just be using that data to determine what type of code in your app to execute. So you may have other purposes in your own app, but for our purposes here, we are going to display that data into our two text views in order to be sure or to check that the data from the main activity.java, our first activity or our launcher activity, that the data had been successfully passed. So let's do that now in our code. So let's create a string data underscore 1 equals bundle So what's the name of the variable here? It's bundle first data. So let's obtain the first data just like that. So our code is in error right now because we have not called the getString method here. So bundle dot getString So that's it there, as simple as that. Bundle.getString and pass the parameter of your variable from the main activity.java, your first activity. Pass it to the getString method here. So you now have successfully transferred that into your new string variable here. So let's obtain the other variable inside your bundle variable here. So bundle that get string again your second data. Let's just copy to avoid typo errors. So paste and don't forget the semicolon. Okay, so that's it. It's very easy to obtain the data. Right now you have successfully passed the data into your string variables. So let's put here pass data to string variables. Okay, so right now you can now uh, change the text of your text views into the value of this data underscore 1 or what's contained in here and data underscore 2. But before you do that, you have first to assign your XML objects into a text view variable. So here we assign XML objects for text views into variables. So let's do that now. Do that now. Text view. So you can name it whatever you want, but let's use the same name as your XML objects. Text view 1 equals text view, and then find view by ID. So you have to obtain the ID of your XML object here, r.id dot. So you can just choose from among the autofill objects here shown here. Use text view 1. So you use the same name here, but actually you can use whatever name you want. But just for simplicity and easy identification, you use the same name as the name of your XML object. So again, let's obtain the create a new text view variable to assign the second XML text view object that you had. So text view 2 equals, you can just copy, but if you're a beginner, it's nice to type everything so that you get familiar with the code. r.id.textview2, and don't forget the semicolon. So save your work. At this point, you have now created your text view variable, and your text view variable will now be used to set the text of your XML object. So text view 1 dot set text. So you now set the text of your text view 1, which is assigned to your text view 1 XML object. So set the text to the content of the first data here, which is transferred now to data underscore 1. So just copy this one and paste. There are times that you need just to copy and paste to prevent typo errors. That's for variable names, you have to do that. But for other things, other parts of your code which requires you to remember syntax other than variable names, I suggest that at first you just type it fully for you to be able to get yourself familiarized with the code. So at this point, we have already set the text of text view 1 to the content of data 1. So let's try this one if it goes through. So that's it. This is data 1. Click again. While your text view 2 with the text 2 have not yet been set into the value of the data underscore 2 or your second data from main activity.java, because you have not yet set the text for that XML object. So let's do that now. TextView 2 dot set text to data underscore 2, and this variable is not grayed out anymore. Let us save and run our code now. Okay, the activity had been restarted. Click the button with the label pass data or text pass data. Click now. So this is data 1, this is data 2. So by setting the text of your text view into the content of the pass data variable, you have now checked that the data have actually been really passed into your next activity. Actually, I have been thinking that to stop the video right now, but I have to show you something else. In the first activity, your main activity.java, we have used put extra here to pass the data, but there is another way of doing that. So now let's comment this out, and we shall be using a bundle to pass the data. So bundle, and name it bundle equals new bundle and then we can just dump everything to the bundle that put string same method there, first data 1 should be comma here, bundle that put string. This is another method actually, what we are doing now, comma, and data 2. And then after doing that, let us before we have used put extra to put everything to the intent. Now we can put all of our data in one pass to the intent. So pass data underscore intent and bundle. So sorry, I have missed something here. So pass data underscore intent, that instead of just put extra, you now use put extras. It's now in plural form because we have now put the contents of the bundle using put string, which we have obtained before using that put string method by to obtain variable datas. Your bundle now may contain one variable or more than one variable. So instead of just using that put extras, because your bundle may contain more than one variable, you use now that put extras and pass the bundle name or the bundle variable as a parameter inside this method. So it doesn't necessitate any change on your second activity or next activity.java here. What happened here is we just use another method of passing the variable or the variables from our first activity into our next activity. So it's the same effect, it's just different way of handling things here. So we now test our code to see if really it's just the same effect to the passing of the data variables here. So let's run our app. Now, changes have been applied, so click the button. So it's the same. The data had been successfully passed, just using another method, our bundle variable, in order to pass the data. So that's it, folks. Thanks for listening to the third edition of my video. I shall be expecting you again to watch my fourth video. Right now, I haven't yet thought of the topic for my fourth video, but thanks for listening to this third video of me doing this Android tutorial. Bye bye.